Hello and welcome to another episode of the DewatchPod. I am Jorgen Smorgasbord.
And I am Jim with a G, and we're continuing our journey into Love, Death, Robots Season 1, because Season 1 is like twice the size of any other season of Love, Death, Robots.
It's 18 episodes, I believe.
And I also want to say it has more good episodes. And speaking of potentially a good episode, we have watched Good Hunting today. And
Yes.
shall I proceed to whether we would recommend this to you, our dear listeners? Yeah. Okay, I like it.
I don't know. I think I will formulate my thoughts by the end of the episode, but
Okay.
There's some stuff going on here.
Yeah, there are some foibles.
Yeah.
Is the way I usually phrase it.
Uh,
Now, before any analysis begin, we have a list.
Yeah, we have a list of content warnings. And just sort of as a general preface, these sort of all like hang together, I would say.
Yeah, this is not one of those things where like, oh, there's one of these and one of these. Like, it's all kind of...
Yeah, this is sort of a big complex where these all sort of come together.
Big mind map energy.
Ending up with a list of things such as violence,
Colonial violence.
sexual violence,
Gore.
amputation.
And just body horror in general.
That's right. And how do we get to that long list? Well, it starts in ancient times, spiritually.
I want to say like pre-Opium War. I don't know what that would be called. Ancient times.
Well, yeah, no, but it we can't pinpoint it by then.
I suppose.
We start in the nebulous past before it becomes extremely concrete.
Yes, of medieval China, at the very least. Vibes.
I think early modern China.
Well,
Vibes-wise medieval China, historically it has to be early
There's
modern
not a single
China.
gun on screen for that first. I guess there's no guns in this episode whatsoever.
Yeah, no, there's only swords and automata.
We'll
But
get
no automata yet. The episode starts fairly simply with a father-son duo of
Spirit Hunter is the
spirit
term.
hunters. Hunting a...
Huli Jing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I did sort of think that, like, if you picked this episode, you would know that, so I'm glad I was right. And what is a Huli Jing?
A Huli Jing is a fox spirit in Chinese mythology. Now, I'm actually unclear. Perhaps I should have done this research. In this episode, they are essentially sirens, right? Like, they are doing bewitching men and such. Asterisk, we'll come to that.
Yeah.
But that is the role they are playing here.
Initially.
And our dear father-son duo is like, we're gonna get him. We're gonna get this fucking Huli Jing who's bewitching a merchant's son, and we're gonna get good pay for it.
And specifically, the merchant's son is like tied up in an attic, sort of moaning for his fox spirit lover to summon her. And the spirit hunters are lying in wait. And
there is a fight scene, and the Huli Jing escapes. But the father gets like a cut-in or something like that, right?
Yeah, and they like lock her into like a sort of medium form.
Yeah.
With water.
A hybrid between a human and a fox. Yeah. And as they chase her down, the son gets a little off track. Because he finds the pup, aka the daughter of this Huli Jing.
Yeah, who's like, what are you doing?
Why are you guys so mean? And he's like, we're getting you because you're bewitching the menfolk. And she's like, no, they're just really annoying. Like, we have to like pacify this dude because he keeps being annoying. We're not actually trying to like eat him or whatever.
Yeah. And after that interlude, Huli Jing mum comes out of building and is like, don't talk to humans, they're dangerous, and immediately gets decapitated by the dad. And that's like, hey, did you see any pups? We should kill those.
I wonder if you still have neurons firing, if your last thought is like, proven right again.
Yeah, no, I think famously, decapitation does not instantly kill you, as like research during the French Revolution when there was ample data.
That's true.
So yeah, no, she's probably pretty smug in that decapitated head for
Like,
about 7 seconds
you
is
get
the
one
time frame.
step up on the tier list for proving your point right as you're dying.
And the son's like, no pups here, no sir. Because he's like, maybe she has a point, and my dad did just fucking decapitate that woman.
And it's entirely unclear. Like, I do think they actually. I think we're supposed to side with the Hulu here, obviously.
Yeah,
But who knows? They might just
yeah,
be fucking lying.
yeah, no. And then we get like a fairly rapid advance in time where the
Like,
son's like, anyway, my dad's dead now. I'm the narrator, and I'm absolutely, I have a stable and good friendship with the daughter of the woman my dad killed, who I did save. So I think that sort of evens out.
it's like
She
it.
does not blame me, and we hang out.
Genuinely remarkable mental strength to be like, we can still be friends after this.
Well, I think he like brings her food like as an
Yeah.
apology.
Because the world has been modernizing, as they say,
Yeah.
trains are showing up, and the magic of the world is draining. Very typical stuff. She is losing her ability to shape into a
Yeah,
fox.
no, Max Weber would approve of this episode.
I
Um,
do wonder, like, why wouldn't she stay in as a fox? Are they more human than fox?
no, it's the fox is the true form, but it's the magical form, so she can't get
Uh,
there anymore, is my understanding.
Alright, foxes are pretty magical. Have you heard the noises they make? It's crazy. That's
I
not meant to be
haven't
a ref.
recently. It is pretty crazy though, I know that. And yeah, no, and he's like, I have to tell you, I'm moving to the big city.
Hong Kong.
Because like for unspecified reasons, he's not like, there's work in the big city. He's just like, I'm leaving this town. That is my
Yeah,
main agenda.
it kind of works out for him, I want to say, but like it doesn't sound like he's like. I think this is a place where the episode could have established its character a bit more, but I assume we're just meant to like kind of get the implication that like, hey, industrialization fucked up a lot of things, so
Yeah, no, but that's not why he's moving to the big city, which is just like a deeply strange void. But here it is.
we could also just posit that he saw big city and was like, that's big.
Yeah, no, like, because it turns out he is like, a like mechanical savant.
Yeah, he moves, he gets a job like running the trains, and he's like, I'm really good at running trains, and then he's like, I'm really good at building fucking robots.
Yeah, he's like he like is a machinery expert.
Yeah.
Um and like they meet again in the big city where does she have a name? Do any of these characters have
Yin.
explicit?
His name is Liang, I think, and
Hmm.
her name is Yin. Uh,
Right, so
they always say the names like, "It's nice meeting you, Yin." Like it's they're so much quieter when they say the
uh,
names. It's very frustrating.
um and yeah, no, Yin has moved also to the big city, like independently of him, sort of just like
Yeah,
drawn in by the gravity, and we have confirmed that this is Hong Kong. This is a pseudo historical, like this is taking some historical
I do
elements.
think it's meant to like in the first half of this episode be like, yeah, this is mostly history with a little bit fantasy on the
Yeah,
side, and then it's like actually it's steampunk now.
yeah.
Like we're seeing fucking
Um,
airships by the
but
end.
we're not quite there yet, because for now they're just like reestablishing their relationship, hanging out a bit, and he like helps her against some British hooligans who are like, ah, woman, I will harass her.
Yeah. She
Um,
has become a prostitute in the
yes,
meantime, as she mentions, like, she's now lost her ability to shape into a fox whatsoever. All she has left is her beauty.
and yeah, she like seems to like mainly be like dealing with British men who have British money.
And British top hats, which the episode makes extremely clear.
Yeah, no, like there's a fair amount of British people in this episode, and like to return to phrenology corner. um this this episode uses some fucking skull shapes. Like British people look like just like generally grotesque.
Yeah.
Whereas Chinese people look fairly normal.
Yeah. Also, I think is there one British person in this episode that does not have a top hat grafted onto their head?
Uh
I think I'm more
the
or less
the
getting there.
governor at some
Yes.
point.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, and they sort of reestablish contact, and um, I think we just like move again with ahead with his story, and he's like, "Oh yeah, no, I figured out how to build like a steam rabbit."
Yeah.
Um, and you know like this is where we get like the transition to steampunk, and um, once more, Jin, is it
Yeah, Jin
Jin?
returns now in a big coat and
Yeah,
like almost aviator goggles, like on her head,
yeah,
like an aviator
and it's
cap.
like it's the night, so it's all enigmatic and mysterious, and she's like, "I need your help with something," and he's like, he politely serves her tea because the situation is not like time urgent in
No.
that sense. Um, and we get more or less like the sort of penultimate section of the episode, uh, in which it is revealed that because the governor has a robot fetish, they basically trapped her and replaced her entire body below the neck with machines in a like sexually violent process.
Yes.
Because again, the governor needed a machine to be to the episode phrases is get hard for.
Yeah.
And this is fairly gratuitous and grim. And she's like, listen, and he's like, we can fix this. We can fix your entire body missing. And she's like, nah, we're too far over the line. Um, I want you to make me a killing machine superhero to hunt British men.
And specifically one that mimics her old form
Yes.
of the.
And we get to work, and she gets she goes all the way to fully machine, like even her face, which had previously been human still,
Yeah.
also gets machine transformed, and by virtue of this and the extremely skilled craft um of our protagonist,
Yeah.
uh thank you, she regains basically her old shapeshifting powers, and uses them to hunt British men in Hong Kong.
Who are harassing women.
Yeah, and that's the story.
That's the story. It's very pretty. I think this is the prettiest episode of Love Death Robots in my opinion. I
Really.
do really like the art style, but also like it just has some absolutely gorgeous shots. Like when she's standing on the balcony and her like multi tails fan out and stuff like
Mm.
that. It probably won't be to everyone's liking. I really like it though.
Yeah. So this episode is like quite focused on like portraying colonial violence primarily through the lens of sexual violence and
Yes.
sexual exploitation.
Yeah.
And I like that's obviously like quite accurate, right? Like
Mm.
every sort of colonial situation does just end up with like, and we do have all the money or we do have all the guns or both, depending on how the argument is made. So we are going to be sexually predatory against like anyone that pleases us, primarily women usually, and it's always bad.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was gonna say there's a part of me that wanted to start this by saying there's a warning here. There is some like noble savage shit in this episode, broadly.
Yeah,
Um, like it's one of those things where I could invoke the fact that like there's a limited perspective here. We only get Hong Kong, in which case there is a colonial power
yeah,
and there are the locals. And who knows, maybe like it's not that the Chinese had magic that was stolen by the British. Maybe the Welsh also had magic. Like maybe this isn't racial, but
yeah,
we do get like because of the structure of this episode, that's what we get. You know?
yeah. And like I think that is somewhat alleviated by the fact that like Papa Hunter is just like also is like, oh, magic? Thank God I have my trusty sword. Right? So it is not like this land lived in harmony and peace.
Yeah.
Um, but like,
You could, and this is also not something I would subscribe to, but you could make a good faith interpretation of this episode as saying that patriarchy is anti-magic. Right? Like, I think there's genuinely, like, a story you could tell
no,
there.
I think that's like in there for sure.
Yeah. Because, like, we don't see any British women. I'm just gonna throw that one out there.
Yeah,
To be fair, there are not a lot of characters. Like,
yeah,
we have
total.
we have like of the female characters, both are Hulijing of the ones who are named, and then
Yeah,
we get a couple of passing shots of Chinese women. But I
yeah.
don't think like maybe there's like a scene where we see a British woman walking by, but not in the foreground, right?
Yeah, there's one Chinese man, one Chinese woman, and like a nebulous cloud of like vile British men is
Yeah,
basically the main cast.
yeah. And also like the dad and the mom from the initial parts,
Yes.
but they are
But there's a
fairly
mom?
the Hulijing mom.
Oh, right.
Come on, they're people
I
too.
thought you meant Hunter's mom, which
No, no,
is
no.
not a character.
If you're a boy, you have a dad, and if you're a girl, you have a mom.
That's right.
That's I'm always striving to innovate on all cats are girls and all boys are all dogs are boys. But yeah, I think like the sexual connotations is like in a way, I actually find it interesting because I often find the conflation of sexual violence with like this sort of like racialized lines
Yeah,
as more a tool of colonialism, right? Like
yeah.
those guys are getting our women, we have to civilize them or whatever.
Mm,
So it's kind of interesting to see it flipped, but I don't necessarily think that makes it any more nuanced, you know?
yeah, no, it's
And I think the big corollary here is our boy Liang gets like he gets hit with two slurs over the course of the episode, and that's the sum total of his colonial oppression,
yeah,
right?
no, he's doing pretty good under the
And
colonizers.
that's like interesting in itself because you could tell the story about the like colonized people who integrated into the colonial power structure and benefited from that. But that's not what's happening here, right? Like,
Yeah,
he is doing well in the structure, but there's nothing to indicate that he is doing that at the expense of, like, the others who don't get to be
no,
in the same position, right? He is not framed as at all complicit in the power structure that gets yin,
yeah,
right?
yeah, no, it's odd, right? And it like I was this episode finds me at an odd time
At a very
because
Chinese time in your life.
not particularly, but
You were reading the other day about anyway. Never mind.
uh uh, yeah, no, this is actually what I'm thinking about. Like I was listening to a conversation the other day about like Chinese nationalism specifically.
Mm,
Um they were sort of going into like the sort of imagined communities approach to nationalism, and the argument was made that like nationalism always exists in part in order to smooth over like internal class differences, right?
mm.
You're like, yeah, no, listen, you might be like living in a slum while that person lives in a castle, but you're both Chinese
Yeah.
and you should unite against the English oppressors. Now, um, that that has limits, right? And this episode is not at all interested in like uh in being whatsoever critical of like this sort of like the nationalist narrative that it is spinning, right? It's like um we are Chinese and pure and we do nothing wrong. Except for I guess like the sort of internal tensions which like sort of fall away once the like evil outsider shows up.
Mm,
And at that point it's all about protecting our women from foreign predators.
mm.
And like I I think that's this sort of story has a place, but it does read a bit differently in a world where China is now one of the world's superpowers.
It also reads a bit interesting because if this story was set, like it can't be to be clear, but like if the story was set in like Beijing, right?
Yeah.
we'd have a different vibe here. But this is set in Hong Kong.
Mm,
The south of China is notoriously very ethnically and like linguistically diverse,
mm,
and it has notoriously, for millennia at this point, sort of been under the influence of a program to be like, well, yes, they speak Cantonese, they speak like Hakka, like they speak a lot of different languages, but they're still Chinese, aren't they? They still write the same script as enforced by the dynasty,
mm.
and so on and so forth, right? So this like, and I think there is a pointer to make about the fact there's clearly a division already, as you
Yeah.
say. In this case, it's taking the form of magical creatures and the people who would
Mm,
bring them to heal. But like on some level, I think you could wrap this around and say this isn't actually about colonialism. You
yeah.
you could make it about patriarchy if you wanted. You could also just make it about like traditionalism in a way, right? And
Mm,
like the stamping out of these other like alternative power structures.
yeah.
I think you could make this into like a and like the fact that the British are here is not to say that they are different from Liang's dad, just that they're like a in this case perhaps a culture that fully embraced those ideals, at least in the force that arrives in Hong Kong.
I don't know. I think like he is somehow like still like the sort of like he's a lot more noble because he's not sexually predator. He
That's
just
true.
kills people, right? And
You're right.
like that's a like that is sort of uh like a very strange division to draw, right? And I think there has to be like some awareness in this episode of like this tension because they're put like no, they're not perfect. Look, he kills a person anyway, he's gone now, so everything's fine, right? So
Mm.
it's this very strange prologue that like complicates the story in a way that I'm not sure like adds depth.
Well, it's I think the thing that I think fundamentally is lacking in this episode is the idea that like I feel like we need comparisons.
Yeah,
Because, like, Leong to me is a very unique character,
yeah,
specifically because he's the one guy who's been exposed to magic and has a
yeah,
sympathetic view of it. And he's also the one stuck in the colonial system, benefiting from it and using that power in some way to benefit, like, the native Hong Kong. Like,
yeah.
resistance movement is stretching it, but like violence against the colonialist overlords rather than just perpetuating
Yeah,
the
no, like
violence
I think
against
like
the
it really
subjects.
brings me back to to Pop Squad, right? Where we have like this class system and like we only get shown like a very small number of quadrants of the class system.
Right. I think that's the other thing is that like it feels to me like this episode's villain like it's interesting in structure in a sense, but the enemy structure is completely interchangeable. Because on
Yeah,
one hand, it's sexually violent men.
yeah,
On the other hand, it's the British
yeah,
broadly. And on a third thing, and I made this joke earlier that all of the British people have top hats. Just like, and the thing about that is, yes, it's culturally stereotypical, but it's more a class thing,
yeah,
right? Like, there aren't like a British dock worker doing the same thing.
yeah. No,
There isn't like
absolutely
a
not.
British football
There's
hooligan.
no British sailors,
Yeah,
right? And like those probably wouldn't be like a welcome or like benevolent presence in in like the country
yeah.
or like the city because they're probably like doing sailor shit, which is uh usually fairly unpleasant.
So in this universe, the class category of rich is synonymous with the racial category of
Yeah,
British, and is almost synonymous with men,
yeah, we're sexually predatory men.
with like the exception of Liang who escapes and
Yeah,
the dad who is not sexually violent, just violent,
yeah,
and clearly ready to kill a child, notably.
yeah,
So it is strange to see that moving goalpost in a way. Like
yeah,
it's obviously to some extent like simplification, but like it would have just been more interesting to have that comparison to have like here's another like Chinese guy who participates in these systems, or to just analyze Liang's like place in that system.
yeah. No, and I think like what would make the story potentially more interesting is to like maybe have some like generally unruly sailors who are like yeah no but like we're in a place where we're like the superior caste
Hmm.
so we can just like sort of like get our spoils of like the exploitations, and like that like you can even like still stick to the metaphor, or like to the to the focus on like sexual violence, but like be like, yeah, and like the spoils bind the like colonizers together, right? Because like the English also have nationalism, and that's not really explored, but
Yeah.
like that's sort of like how the nationalism works like on the like enemy team.
Yeah.
That like, yeah, listen, we get to be superior to these people, even if you're living in the shithole, right? And that's not explored either. And it's like it fully erases the like. I think in effect, right? It tries to complicate and it doesn't get there, and it erases the difference between like uh class domination and foreign domination.
That's another thing that like I struggle when it comes to like colonialism is so often sort of depicted as like the entire ruling class is now British.
Yeah.
And like
No, you need collaborators.
yeah, you need collaborators. You need the like traditional power structure. Like China
That's
is an
what Cyrus worked out. It's like, oh, if I just put other people in charge
yeah.
who are from here, they will be like, I like money.
Like notoriously, this is how colonialism worked in the vast majority of
Yeah.
areas. Like the places like Rhodesia is
Yeah, you
extremely
divide and
rare.
conquer. You're like, oh, yeah, no, you people are now a different caste that is superior and works for us.
And the
That's
British
how you
are
do it.
experts at it. They perfected this in
Yeah.
India, where they're like, we're just gonna like start pulling random ethnicities and decide that these are
Yeah.
the cool ones.
And like it's left like these deep scars, but instead we're never, ironically, the only person who's like sort of like a semi-successful pseudo collaborator is our boy.
He's our boy.
And
He mostly just he's giving off autism vibes of like, listen, on one hand, yes, my country is being fucking brutalized, but
it's
check
not
out.
going badly for me personally. And but like he's not like put in a position where he's hurting anyone, so it's extra strange.
But like that's I think like a question you like that's a statement you could question, right? Like,
Mm.
is he hurting anyone? He seems like really fucking good at this,
Yeah.
and like he clearly has a nice
But he doesn't
apartment.
build the machines for the colonizers, right? He's just like a train operator,
It's a
like
train
on
up,
screen.
yeah. And but like that's then you have to question like what are those trains doing? Like what
Well,
role does he actually play?
yeah, no. But like the episode like doesn't want us to think about that so much. And
And
that's
it's strange to me because I think you could have it so easily integrated that like yeah, so I operate these trains that are like taking indentured servants to the coal mines or that are like bringing in weapons for the occupying forces. I
but
regret doing that. Now this is my redemption is to help you become
yeah.
a killing machine.
But what's in actual fact he's doing is mostly like sort of playing like a limo driver to like the people on the hill.
Yeah.
Um and that loses a bit. Moving beyond our gripes with how this episode plays with class and nation, I think there is like something happening here with like the sort of like magic
Yes.
science synthesis that Liang brings to the table.
Yes, I this is the part of the episode that I do really like. Is
Mm,
the like because the magic fading from the world, and especially the magic fading due to technology, is like a staple trope of this kind of
absolutely.
um
I think
genre.
especially in Asian media, right? Like
Yeah, it's this or like
I'm
Native Americans, and when it's Native Americans, it's real bad. Like this is
yeah.
already like
But
you
like
know.
I'm thinking of like Princess Mononoke,
Mm,
which is like working along like somewhat similar lines.
yeah. But I think like one of the reasons I like Princess Mononoke is that they're pointing out that it's not that simple.
Yeah.
And I think this episode makes to an extent a similar point.
Mm,
Right? Like it's different. Like Princess Mononoke is more about like, hey, listen, like this industrial progress is lifting up the like cast outs and the the maligned in society. Like we are able to
yeah.
reclaim some dignity in this world. This episode is like things change and that can be okay. Like
Yeah.
some things will disappear. Maybe we forget how to make Roman cement, but
Yeah.
check it out, we can make cement. Right? Like on some level, sure, it's not that simple and it's clearly metaphorical, But I quite like that they're saying that, like, no, the world isn't emptier for the fact that these things change.
Yeah. Um.
And I think there's also a point, like, connecting a little back to the colonial resistance side of things, right? We're just
Mm,
saying, like, yes, you've lost this ability, right? Like, the Qing are collapsing,
mm,
but that doesn't mean that something new can't come from that. Like, something new that can be learned from this new, like, synthesis of different
yeah.
influences.
And to like take a step into like sort of the concurrent like politics of this, like this episode does just end up like aligning like absolutely wonderful with like the current sort of ruling Chinese like ideology, because it's like, yeah, no, nationalism is good for the Chinese, the outsiders are evil, and the century of humiliation was awful, um and still don't think about class differences. And also, we can do a synthesis of the old and the new, right? Like, all of that is like kind of like CCP, like home game stuff.
Yeah.
And like, it's not like blatantly wrong, right? Like the like sexual violence of colonialism is like extremely uh like prevalent, right?
Well
It
documented. And, like, there are other good examples in East Asia we can talk about, right?
but I feel like it taints like the ability to speak about it when you're like, and that's why we're a nation.
But I do want to question that a little bit because I think what you're speaking of is true, but I also don't think it's particularly unique.
No.
You know, like the idea of learning from failure is a pretty good general storyline. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, I don't think it needs to be in the particular, like, Chinese conceptualization. It's like what happens when different forces of history meet in a way,
Yeah.
right? Like, at least that's how the narrative comes out. It's like, listen, the Black Death fucking sucked,
Mm,
but now we know a lot about, like, this new rising middle class
yeah.
and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I think it's just like I don't think like you would get this sort of blatantly nationalist text with like for like another thing.
You don't think so?
Um mm,
Like, you have to
I think,
realize,
or rather, I think we would like need to be like. I don't think you could do it for America because like American nationalism, like, I don't think America's featured at all in Love, Death, Robots, right? Like
Kill Team Kill.
they have to be more subtle. They have to like use like different methods, and this one is just like extremely like the topmost drawer.
I also think there's a point to be made about, like, the cultural place of American nationalism is that it's had its absolute heyday like
Yeah,
25 years ago. This was made in 2019 in a very gross resurgence that we are still going through
yeah,
that has split this particular opinion, right?
yeah,
Like, I am sure Love Death Robots could have made today an episode about, like, how cool it was, how cool the Trail of Tears was, you know,
God.
but
Yeah, no, I think this episode actually wouldn't be made today because like Netflix is an American company and they're really racist against China now.
I think there's an element of that. I think also there's, like, there East Asian nationalism has such a weird place in the Western
Mm.
imagination, right?
Oh yeah.
Like, Japan is still fucking fine when they're doing their nationalism, right? Korea is mostly coming out of it by being
Mm.
less known, and I think it's only in the last, like, little bit that Chinese sort of, like, romantic nationalism has started being like, yeah, but they're getting to be like an actual superpower now, so now we're starting to feel weird about that.
I know, why do all my batteries say China then?
Like, I do think there is something to that. Like, I think for the most part, like, I feel like I'm stepping on eggshells on here to some extent, but like,
Yeah.
for a long time, the idea of, like, romantic Chinese nationalism in the West has been seen like, oh, that's quaint, how lovely for them,
Yeah.
you know. I think there's probably some truth about this, um, but it's also complicated, and I think we are in something of a transitional period right now, where I think a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, I think we're also in a strange period because, like, because of recent foreign policy failures of the US, China is very much bobbing right
Yeah.
now as far as like international prestige.
Yeah, no, like China has never looked like such a stable power to hitch maybe your ability to do a green transition to.
Yeah, it's bleak, man. But
Yeah.
but I do think it's like, I don't know, like East Asia just ends up in this weird place in the Western
Yeah.
imagination. Like, if you were doing this episode set in like Oman, I think people would be like, "Oh, I don't know about this one, Chief."
Well, there is also sort of the Lawrence of Arabia strain.
But that's a century ago. I think that started dying out around like, I want to say like the Islamic Revolution in Iran and like the Gulf War, and like
Maybe.
obviously it got nailed with 9/11 and the
Yeah.
aftermath. But
I don't
like,
know. I think it still has like a bit of juice left in it, but I agree with your general
maybe Dune
assessment.
will bring it back.
I think Dune hasn't done that badly for it yet. But yeah, no, like but yeah, no, I like the like sort of blatant like expel the foreign barbarians. Like even if I'm like fully on board with all of it, like does just like grate me because of like the things that it's like uh eliding.
Hmm. I think that's fair. And I don't actually have that much more to say about it. I think I focus on this story much more.
Mm.
Like, I find the interesting part about like how it represents the fading of the magic.
Yeah, no, I mean the whole Max Weber of it all is quite neat.
Now, I hate to ask this, but who is Max Weber?
Max Weber is a German sociologist who famously coined the idea of disenchantment.
Oh.
Um, so I'm being very literal.
But yeah, no,
Um,
like I think the thing I like about this episode is very much this like perspective of like, listen, motherfucker, the dragons might be gone, but you can shut up about the fucking dragons.
yeah, no, like I I think the idea of like achieving a synthesis like is like maybe the thing also the thing that I'm like most interested in about this episode. What sort of complicates it for me, and I don't think I've worked out like how I feel about this yet,
Mm.
is that like that synthesis is built on like the like bodily annihilation of like its bearer.
Well, no, I don't think it is actually. I think that is like one of those things that, like, don't get me wrong, yes, the first step of the like total amputation, absolutely. But it's also embrace of like, listen, if I'm gonna have to live with microplastics in my body, I'm gonna become the microplastic queen. I'm gonna use it to blast some Brits. Like, I don't know, like there's to me like this embrace of like just a new way to conceptualize yourself that I actually think works for me. Right?
I I guess it is just like extremely like tuned into like the violent nature of change.
Mm.
Like like in many ways, right? This episode is like deeply about change. And like at no point is it like and change will be like fine. Like no, change like comes with like disruption and like people who like seek to take advantage of it in like the most like base and profane ways.
And I think like the corollary to that too is that I think this episode is very much about bodies, right?
Yeah.
Like it's about the, not the biology perhaps, but like the sense of ownership of our own bodies. Like, I think the interesting thing about Jin is that she spends most of her life in this episode like about that, right? Like she has this, she starts as like this naked fox spirit, and like clearly her body is like a thing that defines her, both in
Mm,
the shape shifting and the sort of like sexual way, as she notes to Liang. But then she loses part of that,
yeah.
and she spends so much of this episode in loss until eventually she does come to this
Yeah.
embracing of like a new way of like, well, this is still my body, and I can make
Yeah.
it be what I want it to be.
But like that process is like violent, like to a I want to say to a fault, but that's another statement, right? It's
Yeah.
like brutal, like in the utmost.
Yeah.
And like it's sort of like the only way out is through.
Yeah.
And
I like that. I like genuinely.
yeah.
I think it's one of those things where like sure, most people are probably not gonna fucking go through the journey that Jin has with her body.
Hope
But
not.
like some body changes are inevitable, right?
Yeah.
Like and there is a path to that where like sure, I'm not gonna suggest it's easy, but like some changes happen and there
Mm.
isn't a way out but through.
Yeah. Um
But I'm a body horror enjoyer, so I'm coming at this from a very different perspective, perhaps.
yeah, no, I mean she she is just like a full metal lady in the end.
The dream.
Um I there's one like sort of last element that I want to like at least linger on for a moment because like
Let's linger.
the the relationship between Liang and Jin is like never even like implied to be sexual, I don't think.
The only thing is when he's like a boy, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna.
and he blushes because he sees naked lady.
Yeah, and well, specifically, she's less like, I saw how you looked at me.
Yeah.
And, you know, fair. Um, they're like 13.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, like, it's interesting to have that tease, and simultaneously to be like, no, like, that's not what this is about. They're 13. Like, they must, like, they can acknowledge each other's bodies without that being their relationship.
Yeah. No, like I think it does like make the sort of like the foreign barbarians angle like a bit less like quite so blunt because it's not like they're taking our women like it remains a bit more abstract, right? It's not like uh he's he is like literally getting his girlfriend stolen by
Yeah.
right? It's like no, like she is not important to him in only like that physical way, right? Like
And it ends with like, to me, the ending is almost like a
yeah.
goodbye, right? Like it has that energy to it at least.
Yeah, for sure. So like it sort of tries to like at least gesture at like this is not the only way to like relate to each other.
I also think like it's a bit of a corollary. It blunts the edge by the fact that like there's a tendency if you're gonna make like and I don't like this type of writing, but like it
Mm,
happens that like, hey, to mark that this person is evil, they're sexually violent.
yeah.
And to follow up with that, there is a vibe in some pieces of fiction that sexual violence is not distinct from sexuality. You
Yeah.
know? And I think that is something that this episode rejects. Like, clearly, again, I really want to emphasize they're 13
Yeah.
and he's standing in front of a naked lady. Like, that's being acknowledged. But there is no real implication here apart from sort of like a barb from her that he's at all bad about that,
Yeah.
right? Like that's not the conundrum here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Like I think there is a bit more nuance there than it might seem at first.
Yeah. But it is quite blunt nevertheless.
Yes, I think that's still
Um
exceptionally true.
yeah, no, and like just like show us more of the quadrants, you know? I think that really fills out the picture,
I think
baby.
even just like implying it, you know.
Yeah.
I think the thing I was gonna say this earlier. I think the thing that in this episode that makes you go, huh, like for a real moment is when they go like, ah yes, the top-hatted British men chasing down women in the streets, and you go like, well, like I'm not gonna say that hasn't happened, but like the mechanics of sexual violence do tend to be a bit different.
Yeah, no, like if maybe they are doing it for the love of the game, but like usually money does the job. Right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
money is coercive enough.
Or just the power itself, right?
Yeah.
Like the chasing down the streets part is the confusing. And if you're gonna do that, I don't know. I don't like the idea of running with a top hat. That seems hard.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's like the violence is very much a core part of the colonization.
Yeah, and that
Uh,
I mean that part rings true, right? I
yeah.
think that's, if anything, something underrepresented in a lot of media.
Yeah. So, yeah. It it doesn't quite come together for me, but
Okay.
I see what it's doing.
Do you still? Where are you landing on recommendation?
I don't know, like like there, it still seems just like a bit exploitative uh violence for like ideological ends for me.
That's
That
fair.
like falls quite badly.
Hmm.
Like yeah, no, like but the ideology shouldn't be like the sort of like pure national, and like it's not said, right, but it's like I know, like I don't read it as anti-colonialist. I do read it as nationalist. I read it as like painting like the good versus the bad.
The ending to this episode could be the Chinese are gonna come and colonize England, and it's gonna be the better for it.
Well, as it turns out, no, because that is how colonization works, right?
Well, I'm just saying in the
Yeah.
logic of this episode that you're positing.
Mm, I don't know, but I don't think it's just like expel the colonizers. It's like build a nation, right?
Mm.
Um, and that's like an important distinction to me.
All right. Well, I feel satisfied with that.
Yeah.
Now, next episode is going to be the last individual episode that we're going to watch of Love Death Robots,
Yes.
and then there's a recap episode. So we're preparing to say farewell to Love Death Robots, a show
Indeed.
with just swings and misses, man.
Which we're mostly missing.
Are we? There's a couple of good episodes, aren't there?
Well, no, I'm saying we're mostly missing
The
the
misses.
misses.
Ah, yeah. No, there's some fucking horrific shit in here. And it, to be clear, Jorgen, that starts in season 1. There are some really bad ones in season 1.
Yeah. No, I'm probably gonna get around to like watching the whole thing
I don't
just
know
because there's
why.
I'm just morbidly curious, if nothing else, and
It's
like
just, it's
some
not.
of the other ones have been good. Like you
I don't
haven't like
dispute that.
excluded all the good ones, so there's just like a little bit of gambling in there.
Yeah, you're not wrong, but also, like, the bad ones are not the fun kind of bad. At all.
No.
Even the ones that try.
Yeah. But yeah, do you know what we're watching next week?
The finale shall be Zima Blue, which I think is extremely non-indicative to you.
No, that doesn't mean anything.
But it is going to be pretty blue.
All right. And with that, thank you for listening.
See you on the other side.